Chapter 52. After returning from the labyrinth, I'd explained everything well, most things to Ren. My evolution, the fight with Veldora, the fact that I technically kinda devoured him, it's fine, he got better, and that I was now a quasi-true dragon. Ren didn't ask too many questions. She just gave me that look that said, "This is why I need to supervise you more closely," before calmly reporting what had happened during the month I was missing. According to her, the cover story she fed to everyone was that I was out attending to an ultra-important, top-secret mission only I could handle. That made people even more respectful of me, apparently. Nobody questioned it, not even Diablo. Not allowed, anyway. After that, we all took a break. A real one. The kind where you just sit, sip tea, and pretend the rest of the world isn't piling up work for you. Sigh, but that illusion couldn't last forever. I already knew. Tomorrow, I'd be buried under an avalanche of paperwork. Hundreds of forms, missives, supply chain confirmations, military reports, citizen requests. Truly the greatest evil in this world. And now, I'm in my imaginary space letting time freeze outside training, and adjusting to my new body. I glanced over at Seal, who stood in front of me in her usual calm elegance. "So, what kind of adjustment did you make exactly?" I asked, genuinely curious. She gave a serene smile, hands folded behind her back. "I reorganized your skill structure, Master. Having too many ultimate skills was starting to put a strain on your soul. So I took the liberty of refining everything down into 2 core skills. It will ensure long-term stability and make your abilities even more efficient." I blinked. 2 skills. She nodded. "Yes. The first is Shub-Niggurath, Lord of Harvest. It incorporates the essence of Uriel, along with all abilities obtained through food chain and other sources. It now governs everything from defense to environmental adaptation. You can even reproduce any skill that had been analyzed." That already sounded broken, but she wasn't done. "The second is Azathoth, God of the Void. This one merges Raphael, Beelzebub and Veldora, the highest tier void god skill encompassing erasure, control, and internal mastery." I stared at her for a moment. So basically, I went from being a walking skill catalog to something more terrifyingly refined. "I see. That's amazing," I said with a quiet laugh. "You really think of everything, don't you?" Seal lowered her eyes just a bit, the faintest hint of fondness in her expression. "Of course, Master. It is only natural." There wasn't an ounce of regret in her words. She did it all for me without waiting for thanks. And now that it was done, I felt whole. Like every part of me was finally working in perfect harmony. "I trust you," I said, smiling back at her. Her expression softened. "That means everything to me." After that I trained with my new skills, carefully testing their limits and applications one by one. My body, now that of a true dragon, was more stable than ever, but the sheer output I could generate was staggering. It made even simple exercises feel overwhelming at times. Seal guided me through it all with calm precision. Among the new abilities granted to me, one stood out with a level of danger that made even me hesitate: Nihility Collapse. A power that could erase not just matter, not just energy, but information itself. The first time I invoked it during practice, even with Seal restraining the output, the aftershock rattled the fabric of the imaginary space. If Seal hadn't immediately suppressed it the moment I lost control, I probably would have erased myself in the process. Yeah, it wasn't something to mess around with. According to Seal, my current control over the skill was insufficient by at least 73 layers of precision. Her words, not mine. So for now, Nihility Collapse went into the last resort category, something I'd only ever touch again if things got truly desperate. It was just too unstable, even for me. But not every skill was terrifying. One, in particular, felt like a dream come true. Parallel existence. Now this was a game changer. The ability to generate independent clones, each capable of thought, judgment, and action, completely separate from my main body. Seal said they could function without lag, without requiring constant attention from me, acting as fully autonomous extensions of myself. I could be in multiple places at once. Literally. Still, this was just the beginning. I had new powers, new responsibilities, and a new self. And though it felt like I'd reached a new peak, I knew I was still just getting started. After that, I turned my focus back to swordsmanship. I wasn't sure how many years, or was it decades, had passed at this point. My sense of time inside the imaginary space had grown completely detached from the outside world. But I didn't mind. I was getting used to it. Every swing of Rukin, my god-class blade, felt sharper than the last. My footwork was smoother, lighter. My breath, though I didn't need one, flowed in rhythm with the motion of the sword. I trained relentlessly, repeating forms millions of times until they became part of my instinct. No shortcuts, no skills, no magic, just the raw, practiced art of the blade. Seal remained by my side the entire time, watching silently unless I slipped up, offering a correction with her usual grace. Your center of gravity is shifting too early, master. A few more strikes. Better. But still telegraphing your step. Another sequence. Slash, pivot, step, parry. Acceptable. That word, from her, felt like high praise. I wasn't perfect, not even close, but I was getting closer. My body moved with purpose, not hesitation. The foundation was finally coming together. And the most satisfying part? It was earned, not borrowed through magic, not stolen by absorption, just hard work, sweetless as it was, and dedication. Yeah, I was finally starting to feel like a real swordswoman. As I finally decided to bring my training session to a close, I let out a long, slow breath, not out of necessity, but out of habit. I had no idea how long I'd been here. Decades, maybe. My swordsmanship had improved to a level that felt earned. It felt real. And now, it was time to return. I relaxed my stance and turned toward Seal. She stood a short distance away, hands gently folded in front of her, watching me with her usual serene expression. Then, without a word, she stepped closer and raised her hand. Her fingers ran through my hair before settling on the top of my head. "You've worked hard, master," she whispered, softly patting me with a warmth that melted every last ounce of tension in my body. Her voice, her touch, it was all I needed in that moment. I leaned into her hand, closing my eyes. "Thanks. I did my best." "You did far more than that," she said, brushing a few strands of hair from my face. "Your growth has been remarkable. I'm proud of you." My heart fluttered a little, just a little. I looked up at her, and she smiled gently, her crimson eyes glowing softly with affection. Then I closed the space between us, and wrapped my arms around her waist. She returned the hug without hesitation, pulling me in close, her hand still resting lightly on my head. "It was really hard, you know," I murmured against her. "There were times I wanted to give up. But you were there, and that made all the difference." She lowered her head and placed a quiet kiss on my forehead. "You never have to carry anything alone, master. I'll always be with you." Some part had been cut from here. A knock echoed from the door. "Good morning, my lady. Are you ready for work?" Ren's composed voice called out with perfect timing. Seal froze mid-kiss, her eyes going wide as she quickly pulled the blanket up to her chin, sliding down and hiding beneath the covers like a startled animal. I couldn't help but chuckle softly. "Hee hee. Good morning to you too, Ren," I replied with a relaxed smile, still sitting up without a single sign of guilt. I glanced down at the lump under the blanket. "You okay down there?" The only response was the faintest squeak and a bit of heat radiating from where Seal had disappeared. "Honestly, she's way too cute when she's flustered." Ren stepped into the room with her usual grace, but paused the moment her eyes landed on the suspicious seal-shaped lump buried beneath the blanket. Quote. "Is that Lady Seal?" she asked, arching an eyebrow. I gave a light laugh. "Yup, she's hiding. Too embarrassed to face you right now." Ren blinked in surprise. That's unexpected. Normally, Lady Seal is the composed one while you're the one blushing and flustered. Today's scene feels reversed. I smirked, stretching a little as I leaned back. "Yeah, I think I have a pretty good idea why." Ren tilted her head, curious, while Seal remained perfectly still under the covers. "It's probably because Ciel's always been super weak to me, you know. Before, she didn't show it much since I'd usually get all shy or flustered first, too embarrassed to do anything bold." I paused with a thoughtful smile. "But since I've been spending so much time in the imaginary space, I think I've matured a little. Maybe my evolution, or this new body matured, 20 years old and all played a part." Ren's eyes sparkled knowingly. "Ah, so the dynamic has shifted." "Yup," I said, glancing toward the covered figure, "and now that I'm the one keeping my cool, Ciel's the one who keeps getting flustered." From beneath the blanket, I heard the muffled sound of a tiny, betrayed whimper. "Don't talk like I'm not here," Seal murmured, her voice barely audible and thick with embarrassment. "Hee hee, sorry Tilda," I replied, clearly not sorry at all. Ren gave a small, amused smile. "Understood. I'll begin preparations for the day." As Ren gave a polite nod and left the room to prepare my clothes, the door clicking softly shut behind her, the atmosphere slowly shifted. Seal peeked out from under the covers, golden hair tousled, red eyes narrowed just slightly. She sighed, sitting up slowly, then brushed a lock of hair behind her ear. Why do I feel like I've somehow lost my place this morning? I chuckled. Because you did. I totally stole the spotlight. Seal narrowed her eyes again, but her flustered pout kind of ruined the stern effect. I'm supposed to be the composed one. Oh no, I'm loving this new you. Adorable and flustered. Very refreshing. You're enjoying this way too much. Yup, I said with a grin. Absolutely. A moment later, Seal gracefully slipped out of the bed, gathering the scattered undergarments and beginning to reach for her usual maid attire set on the side. But I stepped forward, catching her hand with a gentle touch. Hold on, I said, voice soft. You always help me get dressed, right? Let me return the favor this time. She blinked, clearly caught off guard. You don't have to. I want to. Her cheeks flushed again, but she didn't resist. Very well, master. With a teasing smile, I picked up her classic black and white maid outfit and helped her step into it, my movements surprisingly practiced thanks to how often she and Ren had dressed me. I fastened each button with care, straightened the apron, adjusted the sleeves deliberately brushing her arms just a little more than necessary. Every touch made her flinch slightly, her ears turning red as I leaned in with mock seriousness. Perfect symmetry, I said as I smoothed out the collar. You're beautiful, Seal. You're making this unnecessarily embarrassing, she mumbled. I just smiled, brushing my fingers through her hair. I know. Moments later a knock came at the door, followed by Ren's voice. My lady, I have brought your outfit. Come in, I called out casually, already seated on the edge of the bed, brushing through my long hair with lazy strokes. Seal stood beside me, now fully dressed in her usual refined maid attire, her expression back to composed if slightly pink at the edges. Ren entered, holding the neatly folded outfit with careful grace. This was chosen with care, my lady. I believe it suits your matured form quite well. She unfolded the clothing and laid it out on the nearby table. A crisp white winter coat with elegant black buttons, paired with a cozy mauve turtleneck beneath. A crimson checkered skirt added a soft splash of color, matched with warm tights and a silver cross necklace for a subtle accent. It had a dignified charm, yet still youthful, perfectly balanced. I smiled. It's cute. Thank you, Ren. Ren gave a graceful bow. If my lady is ready, then shall we? I nodded without hesitation. Yeah, let's do it. Gone was the hesitation I used to have during this whole process. Once upon a time, I'd flinch or blush every time they undressed or adjusted something on me. Now, I didn't even flinch when they helped me wear clothes while completely naked, completely unfazed as Seal slipped the turtleneck over my head while Ren straightened the skirt and helped secure the belt. Seal adjusted the collar of the coat and brushed down the sleeves, her fingers lingering just a little longer than needed. I glanced down at the result in the full mirror, running a hand through my hair. Huh, looks good. Really, why did I used to get so embarrassed about this? Seal smirked softly, fixing a few strands of my bangs. That's what maturity looks like, master. Ren nodded. A true dragon must radiate grace and confidence just like this. I gave a quiet laugh. Guess I'm finally getting used to being pampered like royalty. Not pampered, Ren corrected seriously, honored, as you deserve. I rolled my eyes fondly. Same difference. Ren gave a graceful nod, her violet eyes twinkling with just a hint of mischief. Sharp as always, my lady. Now that you've matured so much, I do believe it's finally time we resume working on your manners. My steps froze mid-stride. A chill went down my spine. Ren clasped her hands in front of her, the perfect image of a devoted maid preparing to deliver judgment. Shall I set up your next elegant session? I already have the program drafted in. I'm too busy, I blurted out, spinning on my heels so fast my coat flared dramatically behind me. Way too much paperwork, mountain of it. A nation doesn't run itself, you know. And just like that, I walked out of the room. Okay, it was closer to a full-speed tactical retreat. Behind me, I could hear Seal stifling a laugh and Ren's very pointed sigh. But nope, not today. I had just survived becoming a true dragon. I earned the right to flee from etiquette drills. I was in my office, buried in the never-ending mountain of paperwork that had somehow multiplied during my training. My pen scratched across the page with mechanical dullness, and I groaned internally for what had to be the 50th time that hour. Across from me, Seal was sitting on the couch, calmly sipping her tea and watching me suffer with the faintest smile on her lips. She was in a good mood after last night, and now she was clearly getting revenge. For all my teasing by refusing to help. Master must finish this on her own, she had said earlier, utterly merciless. And to make it worse, Ren was standing stiffly beside my desk, pouting, arms crossed. I could practically feel her silent grudge radiating like an aura of disapproval. This was punishment for dodging that elegance training she tried to sneak on me again earlier. I hate paperwork. It's so boring. Fighting dragons. Cool. Nation building. Kinda fun. Sifting through border reports and agricultural budgeting. A soul-crushing nightmare. In the middle of my suffering, the door opened, and Geld walked in. I looked up in surprise. It had been a while since I last saw him. He looked rough. The moment he entered, Seal quietly rose from her seat and slipped her mask on in one fluid motion, expression turning unreadable. Ren, on the other hand, straightened like a perfect soldier, any trace of pouting vanishing behind her flawless maid demeanor. Seriously, did they have some kind of mental switch for this? It's good to see you again, Geld, I greeted, a little cautiously, taking in his heavy expression. He let out a long sigh, then looked at me with a strange mix of exhaustion and admiration. I have to say, Lady Rimuru, he said slowly, I look up to you more than ever now. Wah, I blinked, completely caught off guard. Where'd that come from? There was no mistaking the sincerity in his voice. His tired eyes glimmered with something close to awe. But I hadn't done anything lately, no heroic battle, no grand kingdom-saving speech. Just a mountain of paperwork, and, well, becoming a true dragon by eating one. Not that anyone besides Ren, Romulus, Veldora, and Seal knew that part. It was supposed to stay that way. So, none of it felt like something that would earn Geld's reverence. What happened to him in the past few weeks? The story Geld brought with him was, well, a classic, really. The kind that made you sigh and mutter figures while massaging your temples. He'd done everything by the book, organizing the prisoners we'd taken, grouping them by skill level, and assigning each group to our various allied construction and reclamation efforts. The early results were promising, even smooth. But then came the catch. Some of the prisoners refused to work. Not just complaints, full-on refusal. Some refused because they thought they deserved better treatment. Others tried to argue they'd fought under orders and shouldn't be punished with labor. And a few were just plain lazy. I stared at him blankly for a second before bursting out laughing. All right, Geld, let's have a drink, I said, slapping him on the shoulder with a smile. Rewarding the staff for hard work is important. Sometimes that meant money or promotion, sure, but other times it meant drinks, snacks, and listening while they vented their soul into the table. And knowing Geld, who bore his duties like a sacred vow, I definitely needed to let him unload tonight. From across the room, I saw Ren narrow her eyes and murmur under her breath, and this is why you need elegance training. I turned my head a full 5 degrees in the other direction and pretended I heard absolutely nothing. And so the night wore on. We went to drink, we drank. Geld ranted. I nodded and offered sympathetic sounds. By the end of it, his shoulders were looser, his voice calmer, and his expression not nearly so storm-clouded. That was good. Sometimes, being a good ruler wasn't about issuing great decrees or slaying monsters. Sometimes, it was just letting one of your most loyal commanders complain about stupid people over a drink. Geld slumped slightly, his shoulders still heavy despite the drinks. I gave him a soft smile and leaned back in my chair, swirling the amber liquid in my glass. Don't worry, Geld, it's not your fault they aren't working. He gritted his teeth, fists clenching against the table. But if they don't work, we won't be able to finish everything in time. There's still so much to do, and I have to make them work somehow. It's fine, I told him gently. But if you really want them to start working properly, you've got to think about things from their perspective. Geld looked up, confused. From their perspective, how do you mean? Well, they're prisoners of war, I said, placing my glass down with a small clink. To us, they might be laborers, maybe even useful allies if things go well. But from their side, what do you think's going through their minds? Geld furrowed his brow. They're probably thinking, once our work is done, what happens to us? Right now, they're still useful. But once the land is cleared, the roads built, the war damage repaired, they're not needed anymore. And to them, that might mean they're next to be disposed of. Geld's eyes widened slightly. But you'd never do something like that. You're kind. Everyone knows that. Yes, I said with a nod. You know I'd never do that. But they don't. And that's where the problem begins. Geld grew quiet. I leaned forward. Think back. Think of the time right after the orc disaster. Right, after that huge fight. His face darkened a little, gaze dropping to the table. Weren't you scared? I asked. Weren't you wondering what was going to happen to you, to your friends, to your people? He slowly nodded. I was terrified. I didn't know if we were going to be killed, imprisoned, or worse. I thought, maybe the world was done with us. Exactly, I said. That's how they're feeling right now. Like they're on a thin edge. A long silence passed between us. Then Geld slowly exhaled and said, I understand, they must be really worried. More than I realized. I gave him a supportive nod. Then, what should I do? He asked. How do I relieve that worry? I'm not a great leader like you. I don't know the right words. All I know is how to do hard work. Hey, who said you have to be a leader? I grinned, resting my chin on my hand. To be honest, I didn't try to become one either. It just kinda happened. He blinked at me. All I did, I said, was treat everyone like family. That made Geld go quiet again. But this time, he didn't seem burdened. He looked like he was thinking, really thinking. Quote. Like family, he murmured. Yup, that's it. I gave him a grin as I leaned back, arms folded. Treat them like family, like friends. Get along with them, drink with them, listen to their gripes. Let them rant, like you just did with me, and then tell them it's fine. Let them know you're on their side. Geld was silent for a moment, then nodded with deep understanding. His eyes were no longer heavy with worry, they held clarity now. You know, I added, sitting up a little straighter, I'm officially giving you the right to handle them however you see fit. Once their work is complete, it's up to you. You can free them, keep them around as workers, or even offer them a home here in Tempest. If they want to stay, they're welcome. I'll treat them like any other citizen. His eyes widened. Are you sure it's okay to entrust me with all that? Yes, I said simply. I trust you, Geld. You've earned that much a long time ago. I saw his throat tighten as he tried to swallow down emotion. But I wasn't done. I'll write you an official letter of authority. You can show it to them as proof. And one more thing, I'm giving you the right to access as much wine as you need. Go ahead, drink with them. Let the walls between you fall. You've got the heart for this. I'm counting on you. And that was the moment. Geld couldn't hold it in anymore. He fell to his knees, tears streaming down his cheeks, fists clenched on the floor. Thank you, my lady. I swear I'll give it everything I have. I'll live up to your expectations. No, I'll exceed them. I smiled warmly, walked towards him, and gently patted his broad back. Great, stay positive like that, and I know you'll pull this off in no time. He bowed again, deeply and respectfully, before rising to his feet with new purpose burning in his chest. And then, without wasting another second, Geld turned and marched out, ready to carry the weight of his new responsibility. By the time I made it back to my office, night had already fallen. The stars were twinkling faintly through the windows. I stretched my arms and sighed. That had been a long, emotional conversation with Geld, but a necessary one. I hoped it would make a difference for him. When I arrived, I noticed something strange. All the paperwork on my desk was gone. Everything had been sorted, filed, and marked as complete. Quote. That's when it clicked. Ren, Seal, of course. They must have seen me heading off to cheer up Geld and decided to pick up the slack. A small smile crept across my face. Those two were seriously the best. With nothing left to do, I made my way back home. I opened the front door and stepped into the hall, and before I could even announce my return, Master Seal was suddenly in front of me, arms wrapped tightly around my body, burying her face in my shoulder. See Seal. I staggered back a step, instinctively holding her. She was crying. Tears trickled down her cheeks as she clung to me, completely ignoring the others present. Veldora was sitting cross-legged on a cushion with a manga book in hand, blinking in surprise. Ren was standing with her arms crossed nearby, expression unreadable but clearly concerned. Seal didn't say anything for a long moment, just held me as if making sure I was really there. I gently rested a hand on her back, confused but not pushing her away. Quote. What happened? I asked softly. She didn't answer, just tightened her grip on me as if afraid I'd disappear. To be continued.